I thought that I would start this morning because some of the last few times I've spoken, I've started off just talking about all the things that have been in the news, how much is on social media. Well, I found some more things that I thought maybe y'all might appreciate.
Aww.
I was like, include dog on there.
This is Tyson.
Hi, Tyson.
When Tyson was 3 months old, he had cancer. And they removed 3/4 of his jaw. And guess what Tyson did? He grew another jaw. He did.
The power of the body.
And I thought it was a wonderful example that we think miracles are just things that aren't, they can't have a possibility. Here's a miracle. Here's Tyson. He grew a jaw. And he's not the only dog that we have documented growing back bones, which is just fascinating to me. Things that we think are impossible, that would be miraculous if it happened. It's happened. This is a Wollemi pine. They started showing up in our archaeological records about 91 million years ago.
Oh my goodness.
And about 2 million years ago, we thought they went extinct. And in 1994, they found a grove of this extinct pine tree in Australia. And they kept it secret, but took saplings and took them and started other forests, other little groves, as well as in Australia, you can buy this pine in a nursery. So to me, this is a great example of something that we've labeled as, you ain't around no more, and they went, yeah, I am, in your world. This, if you can't see it in this picture, does some of you know what this is? They're manatees. In March, 1,000 manatees accumulated in this state park in Florida. 50 years ago, we thought there were no more than 1,000 manatees in existence. And now, 1,000 of them are congregating in one spot because we think there's upwards of 11,000 of them.
Wow.
So to me, this is a great testament that when we desire to help something in our world of nature, we help it so that they can hang out. If you don't know, they're hanging out because it was cold, as y'all remember, cold as whatever in January. This spring is a spring, so the water coming up is a constant temperature, and it was warmer than the ocean. So they moved in to find warmer waters. They published a study here recently, a large study, and they did a great cross-section of people, and they asked them about how hope-filled you are. How much hope do you have for your life? And 82% of the people had hope for their life. In other words, what's going to be coming up for them. Which all the negative things, all the things that just go on in our world, I would think that not more than 80% of the population would be holding some hope. But they also held that 85% of these people had hope for their families. And over 75% of them even had hope for their communities, for their towns, for their country. Which to me is just another great testament that I absolutely think that we live in a world that doesn't have much hope because of all the terrible things that we see. And here's something that disproves that. Some of you know, we keep a candle up here. This is our Christ candle. The Christ candle is to remind us of that indwelling Christ, the Christ consciousness that dwells here, within me, within you, within each and every one of us. Well, today I'm going to light another candle. This is a candle for our intention for today. Because our intention is, being this is the month of love, our world of love, our intention is to decide to love. To decide love, to choose love, to be willing and decide that love is who we are, and what we'll see in the world. So let's take that intention and move it into our opening statement. If you'll repeat with me. Together, there is one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotent. Travis, we're going to close you out. I'm sorry, we won't be able to see you up there. Who would like to read our daily word for us today? Who's bold? Who's going to be brave?
I will. There you go.
Pam, you want to read it? Come on up here. I think you spoke first. We don't want to deprive you if you spoke first, right?
Chris.
I'm going to ask you to hold the mic. And either I can hold this for you or you can hold it. So, start with the opening statement.
Acceptance. I practice acceptance and find peace. In the past, I have resisted unwelcome situations and unwanted outcomes. Over time, I have learned that my resistance did little more than leave me agitated and unhappy. I have learned to trade resistance for acceptance. Accepting situations as they are does not mean I like what is happening, but it does mean I'm willing to be present to it without resistance or struggle. From that place, I am better able to work towards creating better conditions for myself and others. When I practice acceptance, I invite the presence of God to inspire and comfort me. I shift my attention from what I might feel wrong to that which is always right, the absolute, the unchanging goodness of God. Not that I am referring to being in need, for I have learned to be content with whatever I have. Philippians 4:11.
Yay, thank you. So let's, if you will, join me in prayer. If you'd like to just close your eyes or soften your gaze and just relax here. Relaxing and knowing that that breath that's rising and falling within you is a testament to the love you are, the life you are. It's a testament that there is one power, one source, one divine nature that is all. And as that breath rises and falls within you, that is the celebration of that source, of that presence, that divine essence. And within that divine is all potential, all possibilities. So whatever we call upon, love, hope, dedication, determination, healing, abundance, prosperity, whatever it is that our imagination can come up with is contained within that divine essence. And because we are an expression of that divine essence, it's contained within us. That same potential, that same possibility is there within us, waiting to be expressed, waiting for us to decide and be willing to call upon it and act upon it and be and do in this world. And we celebrate today that we come together in the month of love, and that we have a place to come and celebrate together, and that we have a family to come and be a part of to celebrate. And we're grateful that you remind us, each and every one of us, when we look at you, when we see you, you remind us to love. And in the power and in the nature of the living Christ, we say, and so it is. Amen.
We're all living with the terminal condition called life. No matter how I try to fight it.
Yay! So, hey Betty. So, a couple weeks ago, I gave you some homework, and that was deciding to love. Some of you were here, some of you weren't. That's okay. How'd you do with your homework?
Good.
We had one good.
A plus.
A plus. Wow. Well, good. And if you say I didn't even think about it once, that's okay, because it's a practice. And a practice is something that we keep returning to. We keep evolving and returning back to. That's why we practice. Athletes do what? They become great professionals and the best in their sport. And what do they keep returning to? The basics, the practice that is the basic foundation of what they do. And we get to do the same thing as part of that. Let's try again. And then there was sound, all right? So, for those of you that don't speak, and for those of you that do, know that sometimes you sit down and just figuring out what you're going to talk about and where you're going to go with it, it's just like pulling teeth. And other times, and this was this week for me, other times you got so much stuff that you take a look at it and you realize, I've got at least a day-long workshop here for the material. And since I've learned for sure they ain't gonna stay with me for a day-long workshop on Sunday morning, so we'll have to nibble it down.
If you feed us, we might.
Oh, now I know how to bribe you. Okay. So today I'm going to just touch on some of the aspects of all that material, all the things that I wanted to share with you. Because 2 weeks ago I talked about love. The definition of that in the dictionary is a state of being ardently dedicated. That you have to be dedicated with love. And that Charles Fillmore said of us that love, am I cutting in and out?
We can hear you.
Well, we have to amplify to try to help the folks
There you go.
on Zoom hear me.
Sure.
And I'm not sure why I'm cutting in and out. It's gone now.
Do I need to look at the board?
I don't think that'll help. You can look at it. Maybe you just looking at it will help it, Gina.
They did that last week too.
You know, things that are observed change just simply because they're observed. So maybe that'll help.
We might grow our butts back.
That's right. So Charles Fillmore said that love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. It's the great harmonizing principle. For the folks online, I apologize. I'm probably going to move in and out with voice since I'm doing just that with my microphone. Anyway, so this great, this power, this faculty of love that we talk about in unity. We talk about powers, that we have these 12 powers. Well, we have more than 12 powers, but we talk basically about 12 of them. And love is one of those. But that love is this harmonizing agent between all of us, because it is all of us. It's the connection between us. And when I shared 2 weeks ago about our homework and that we were going to make that decision to love, any of you have a good story about how you went with making that decision to love? Well, okay, then I'll share mine. I didn't want to deprive you of the opportunity to share. this is one of my quirks, and it's revealing of me and not of anyone else. And that is, when I'm dealing with cashiers and wait people, and they don't look at me and they don't treat me kindly, compassionately, and say please and thank you, it agitates Russ. Now, in my mind, I know that I'm probably the 100th person that they've had to deal with. They're doing everything in their power to keep up with their job and their duties and their responsibility, and probably the last 50 people have treated them unkindly. And I'm just in this progression. And it's not about me. You know? It's just with what I'm witnessing for them. But this week, making that everyday decision to love, I didn't notice that at all. I didn't have any experience of that this week. And that's just not normal for me, to not notice that. That's out of the ordinary. That was my miracle this week, was to not see that at all. So, to me, I was able to carry on the affirmation that we did. Do you remember the affirmation? The affirmation was, I open to love, letting the warm radiance shine out of, let me try that again. I open to love, letting the warm radiance shine out to all the world. I make the decision right now to love myself and bless everyone in every situation with true love, the great harmonizing principle. In there it says to love myself, because to begin with this idea of love, we have to love ourselves. We have to begin where the love begins, and that's right here with us. I had another great, just one of those great ahas. I'm sitting in a coffee shop downtown Little Rock. It's got those floor-to-ceiling windows, sits right on the street. You know, it's hardly a little slither of sidewalk between you and the street. And I'm sitting in there, and I notice this guy coming across the street, and he steps up on the sidewalk. And when he steps up on the sidewalk, it gets my attention. And I look up, and we make direct eye contact, and he flips me off. And my first thought is, he knows me. And then I realized, no, he doesn't. And just as I can laugh about it now, I could laugh about it then. It tickled me. So I didn't respond by thinking, you know, what a jerk. Because I had no idea what he was doing and why he was doing it. I had no idea what he was thinking, what was going on in his head, in his life, in his experience. I have a clue. But it gave me that opportunity to look at him and think, but this isn't all he is. This is an action he's doing, but this isn't all he is. It's more than this. Within him is this indwelling presence. Love is right there. And it just reminded me right there. Let me see.
I love you too.
Let me jump down here to something. This comes from Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, and this is in his book, Keep a True Lent, and we're in Lenten season right now. It says, Keep a True Lent, and he says that as I make a perfect union between my mind and the loving mind of Father, between the divine mind, I realize a goodness everlasting and a joy beyond expression. And the point of contact is a willingness and a seeking on my part, meaning the point of contact between my mind and the divine mind is this willingness and this seeking on my part. Because I am willing and because I seek is how I bring those two together. It says, seek and you shall find, and knock and the door's open. But he also says, I now firmly declare that love, is expressing through me, and that no environment or external condition can hinder it. And any unloving condition of the world is no bar to my exercise of love. In fact, it is an incentive. In other words, where I don't see love, that is the incentive for me to find love, to find the love within me, and to see the love in my world. Perhaps one of you will go turn me down just a little, since I'm getting the feedback-ish. So let me jump here to another concept, and that is about the law of understanding. Yeah, I'm quoting a lot of Charles today because he's got tons of material, and this is in the book, The Revealing Word. And he says that spiritual understanding, so understanding, is the ability of the mind to apprehend and realize the relation of ideas one to another. So spiritual understanding is to be able to take this idea and see a relationship between them. The relation between one idea and another, or between one being and another, between one action and another. It's about being able to recognize that relationship. Let's say you have this wonderful, contentious relationship with someone, and you're uncomfortable with this relationship, and you decide that I want to do something about this. I want to understand this person a little more. And you decide that you're going to be willing to discover more, to understand more about this person. And because you made that decision, then you open up that law of understanding within you. And because you open that up, now in your experience with this person, you see a little more understanding. You understand them and their life and what's going on. Maybe a smidge, but you have a little more understanding about them. And because you had that understanding about them, you gained a little confidence about understanding. And because you have confidence on it, you draw more on that law of understanding. And now that you've drawn on it, you have a little more understanding, again, about this person. That law of understanding keeps building the more we decide or are willing to draw upon it. That's the point here. But that's also true of love. If I decide to love, then I find love more so. And because I find it and have confidence with it, I draw on it more. And because I draw on it more, I find more love that keeps expanding in my life. But I also want to keep expanding it within me. Because part of our practice is to look at someone else when they flip you off and see love. Not see the action, not see whatever it is that we absolutely didn't like about them, but to see that they're more than that. There's a depth to them. And in that depth is love. But we have to see it within ourselves. So I want to invite you, if you're willing, close your eyes. Think about this morning. And if not this morning, sometime this week, you brushed your teeth. So think about it. Why did you brush your teeth? Maybe it's because you didn't want stinky breath. Maybe you just want to keep your teeth. Maybe you don't want to have to spend money at the dentist. You had reasons why you brush your teeth. But by brushing your teeth, weren't you valuing them, appreciating them? And if you're valuing and appreciating your teeth, aren't they a part of you? Then aren't you valuing and appreciating you? You can open your eyes, and isn't that appreciation love? You're loving yourself. This is self-love. You can do that with brushing your teeth. You can do that with your cup of coffee this morning. You have a reason why you got that cup of coffee, but you gave it to yourself because you wanted to quench your thirst. You liked the flavor of it. You did something that ultimately was back because you valued and appreciated you. So that act of getting yourself a cup of coffee was an act of self-love. Getting dressed this morning, putting your shoes on, putting your scarf on, whatever it might be, another act of self-love. Driving in the car instead of hiking here this morning, an act of self-love. You can look at anything in your life and realize that if and when you're doing it, that there's a reason you're doing it that values you and appreciates you. And if that's the case, then it's loving you. And here's an exercise, a ritual of self-love for yourself. Because we must continue this practice. I think the thing that I realized that I don't hear enough in unity is the fact that we can talk about and gain awareness about all these ideas, but we have to be the expression of it. And not just the understanding of it, that's a step in it, but the expression of it. Meaning that we embody it, and it, in our bodies, gets moved out into the world. So love has to be something that we hold for ourselves, and we have to enact it upon ourselves. That's our rituals of self-love. But we also have to take it into the world. We have to share that love. Is it really love if it's not shared? If I'm not offering that love to you? And guess what? What if you don't give that love back? Well, Charles Fillmore said that's just incentive. More for me to love. For me, it's a great reminder. Me getting flipped off in that moment was like, oh, love. It reminded me. It took me back to love. It didn't take me down the path of what a crazy individual this is. It took me to that experience of love and to me to return to that. And that comes from us deciding. It also comes from, we talk about these terms in unity, but I'm saying to you that if you're deciding to love, you're also deciding to be a spiritual being. You're deciding that you and the Father are one, and that divine nature is your nature, and that you're wanting, by deciding love and exploring love and having greater understanding of love, that you're also deciding to have a greater experience and understanding of your spiritual nature, that you are a spiritual being, that you're making a claim to living a spiritual life by doing that. So it isn't just a task to be done. You're also exploring your own divine nature and deepening that, deepening beyond even the concept of love, but that what all that fullness of being a divine being means. And will we ever get to that fullness? Well, probably not, because there's infinite in that fullness. But we can gain, we can grow more. Just like our law of understanding, the more we focus on it, the more we experience it, the more we then focus on it, the more we experience it, and it keeps growing. You know, there's Jesus said, love each other as I have loved you. That was a love that was based in action and experience. Jesus knew love, and Jesus took that love forward. But also, love, just like this statement from Charles, says that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Love held produces after its kind. And it may only be produced in you in that contentious relationship I mentioned to you, because it's two people and you can't control and dictate. And just because you love them doesn't mean they love you back. But you do what? You show up differently. You act differently. You interact differently. And in that, the potential for the change in that relationship happens. But either way, because you keep reinforcing that love, you change, you grow, you expand. So I'm going to give you a couple more exercises today, because I want you to have the practices that you can utilize. That self-love ritual, that's one of the practices. But the next is really, we're going to do it from meditation. And know that we'll take jumps within the experience of this. And follow along or not follow along, that's okay. This is just part of the practice, part of the experience. So if you're willing, we're going to play a little music to begin with here. Oh, don't do that. I didn't mean to jump quite that much. There we go. So, this is meditation. So as we begin this meditation, just flow with the music. That's okay. You can focus on the sound of my voice. You can close your eyes. You can soften your gaze. You can stare into a light if that's what makes you happy during your meditation. But I invite you to move inward. And in this place, be aware of your breath. The movement of your chest, the rise and fall. That sensation of your breath moving through your nostrils, across your lips. But as you're observing that breath, observe your body. The pressure you feel of the chair. Your feet on the floor. Your hands resting.
Each blade of grass has an angel leading over.
Maybe that growl taking place in your tummy. Maybe the coolness on the back of your neck. You're observing. And in this place of observing, who's doing the observing? You may also hear of all these wonderful thoughts. simply observe the thoughts. You don't have to push them the way, you can just let them do what thoughts do, and that is drift away. And you're observing that. And now as our music has ended, and you observe that sound diminished, or maybe you can now hear the sound of the fan blowing in the heater. Simply observe. And if you get totally lost, I followed my thoughts so far down the rabbit hole, I just forgot to observe, forgot where I was, what I was doing. Come back and observe. If it helps to start with your breath, come back to the breath. The sensations of your body. And be the watcher. Here's where we're going to shift gears. Because I invite you, if you have your eyes closed, that you open your eyes and that all of us just look around the room. Observe who's in the room, what's in the room. Is still being the observer, the watcher. And from this place of watching, this breath. Breath is life to you, right? All of us breathe. If we're here in this play, all of us breathe. That breath, as we bring it in and bring in that life, we can use that breath to activate us, charge us, excite us. When you work harder, you breathe harder. Because there's more energy that's needed, more resources that are needed. So that breath, we can actually, through our intention, focus on increasing that energy within us. That energy is our life. That's our love. That's our expression in this world. So think about that breath coming in and it's filling up this body. And we may know that that breath goes through the lungs and how it moves through our circulation system and oxygenates the body. But I want you to imagine that breath going to every molecule, continually flowing in with each breath. moving deeper into you, expanding into you. It's charging you and igniting you. And some of you might be just like me. As I think about that, my hands start to tingle, vibrate. I feel that energy. But whether you can feel it or not, it's there. This energy we can call light, but we can call love as well. And we're going to flow. We're going to give this energy, this light, this love. We had a shooting in Kansas City. People out celebrating, party, and we had a death and many others wounded. There are people there, those that were the victims, those that were present, those that are the family of the victims. We're going to breathe that energy out. Flow that love to them. And to see that on whether they were the victim or the perpetrator. They were flowing that energy, that love to them. Because as we look at them, we know they're more than the experience. They're more than the actions. And we allow that breath to keep moving that energy. And we allow that to flow into all of Kansas City. Continues to spread outward, moving through the state, Missouri, moving into Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and it flows farther. You're breathing it. You're taking that love and giving of it. And now it's expanded out beyond this continent. It's moving into the oceans, across the poles. Now it's encompassing this planet. Your love, your light, your energy, your breath is now encompassing this planet. Touching every single being, embracing every molecule and all of the existence of this home we call Earth. This place, who have you touched? Answer that question for yourself. They're strangers, people that you will never meet, but also you touch the people you know because you chose, you decided to love. Invite you as you come more of your attention here to the space if you've gone elsewhere. As you're ready with your eyes open, still being the observer, still being the watcher. And whether you're watching me or watching out the window or watching the person next to you, across from you, that you're being the observer. Part of the practice of deepening love is being able to observe you, right? To observe you when that person flips you off. Did you run down the rabbit hole of wanting to attack them? As the observer, you can observe that. And once you observe it, you can do what? You can make a choice. Do I want to dig that hole deeper? Or do I not want to be in that hole? Part of our practices, when we talk about unity meditation, this was but that much of what you can do in meditation. It's just learning to develop the observer, the watcher, so that you can go into the world and see how you're showing up in the world, how you're responding. And then choose differently if you want to show up differently. Or deepen it if that's the way you want to show up. There's one last story I have for you here. The great teacher Buddha. Buddha is trucking along with all his monks and his nuns, and they're moving town to town. And it's a hot day, and Buddha has moved into a little village, and he's found a big shade tree to be under, to get all his gang up under the tree, get a little water to rest before they journey on further. And Buddha does what Buddha does, which means he's going to be teaching. So as he sits down, he starts talking. And people hear, and they start showing up to hear the teacher's words. And there's a young man off to the side, and he's looking at Buddha and this horde of nuns and monks with disgust. And finally he's had all he can stand, and he yells out at Buddha, "Go away! We don't need your pretty words here. Just come in here and offer us nothing, but you always want something. You want money, you want food. Go away!" And Buddha just acknowledges him, doesn't take on or accept what he's offered, just acknowledges him and beckons him to come closer. The man comes near, and Buddha asks, "You go and you purchase this wonderful gift for your friend, and you take it to your friend, and you give it to them, and they refuse to take it. Whose gift is it?" And the young man says, "Well, I guess it's mine. I bought it, I purchased it, they didn't take it, it's mine." Buddha says, "Exactly. You, in anger, were cursing me, and I chose not to accept it. And just like the gift, it returned to the one that gave it." And in the story, our young man bows to Buddha because he realized he just got a teaching that he didn't want to have, right? But to me, this is a story of what we give out in the world comes back to us. Even the love that we give to others, some people accept that love, embrace that love, welcome that love. And others say, "Not no, but hell no," right? To that love. They won't accept it. But it comes back to us. And if it comes back to us, just as that law of understanding, it keeps expanding. So whether it's accepted or not accepted isn't the point. The point is to keep giving that love and to keep shifting and changing you so that ultimately, you keep showing up differently in the world. To be that being that maybe now someone can hear, someone's willing to accept that love. Maybe you're the first for them in their life. Maybe they have no concept of what that means. And now you're the first. And they take in a little, and now their life changes. The power of what we do in unity, whether it's this unity, the other unities in this country, around the world, is that we change ourselves so that we can change the world that we're in. Knowing that the only way that we really impact dramatically this world is by our decision to take us into this world, to be that love, and to be those hands of love. However that may show up for others, or how they accept it or don't accept it, we're the deciding factor in our own lives. So today I've given you exercises. The pieces of paper that you see on there have those rituals and exercises and meditations on them, as well as a couple of our affirmations. You can't just think these things. You have to become these things that we talk about here. And it's through exercise, practice, that we do that. So I invite you, this week's homework, which one of these practices do you want to pick up? Maybe it's already something similar to what you do, but maybe you don't do it every day. Well, be consistent with it. And choose a time frame. Maybe you only want to be consistent with it for 2 weeks. Okay, be consistent with it for 2 weeks. That might be hard. Me not drinking coffee for 2 weeks, that proves to be a challenging practice for me. So maybe it'll be a challenging practice for you, whichever one you choose. But here's also the part of the self-love ritual, is that when you don't do something and you might want to be hard on yourself, part of self-love is giving yourself space, giving yourself that expansion to be okay doing what you just did. And if you want to choose and do differently, then choose and do differently. But what you did, it's okay. Love that's what you did. That little rest you took from that practice, maybe it's the rest you needed, right? That's okay. Accept that as part of the self-love practice. So I'm going to give us one more song, and then we'll do our closing routine.